actually in the struggles we have in the Arab world in terms of our mental health systems. And you'll see that some of what I will be presenting about very similar work is being done in Lebanon as well. So maybe we can integrate some of our work with your work, especially maybe bring over a suicide hotline to the UAE, because you see from our very brief experience in Lebanon, we've been seeing things that we weren't really expecting from this experience. So, the objectives of my presentation will be to identify the different types of suicide prevention interventions that are needed mostly at the national level. So I'll give you a brief overview about the mental health system in Lebanon, understand basically the rationale behind why we need to implement suicide helplines in the Arab world, because they are existing all over, but maybe it's a new concept still for us here. Review some latest evidence on the effectiveness of helpline, prevention helplines, and the more specific objectives is actually to take you through the Lebanese experience and the work that we've been doing actually at our local NGO, which is Embrace, for the past few years in preparation for the hotline, which only launched almost a year ago. So basically, when we talk about helplines, the first idea that we need to understand is that suicidal behavior is usually associated with a crisis. And these crises are time limited, they occur for a specific period of time, and if we are able to intervene during these short, limited crises, then we can definitely prevent more difficult and more severe outcomes from occurring. Psychological autopsy research also supports the association between stressful life events and the occurrence of suicide. So it's more evidence that we need to intervene during these crises. And we also know, from all of us working here in the mental health field, that suicide is associated with a lot of psychological ambivalence. One of the basic questions we got when we launched the hotline is somebody who is thinking of suicide really going to call a LifeLine? And we do know that they will, because they're not fighting the need to end their life, but the need to end the pain or the suffering that they're going through. So we know that if there's a service out there that they can seek, then they definitely will do that. So just to take you briefly over some of the data that we know in the Arab world, and these are some of the rates of suicide per 100,000 in some of the Arab countries. We can see that they are higher in some areas, lower and less. Okay. We can see Lebanon's prevalence. I'll talk about it a little bit more in detail in the next few slides, but it's around 3.2 per 100,000. And we have other countries like Mauritania, Sudan, Djibouti, the lower countries in that area that are a little bit more affected. And this is a little bit where we are here. Okay, we don't have such high rates when we're comparing the Middle East, if you'd like, to other Western countries in the US. But definitely there are other cultural characteristics about our region that are very different from Western countries, and I'll talk about them a little bit when I come to the Lebanese experience. So, when we talk about suicide prevention efforts, I think it's important to highlight a little bit on following the presentation that Dr. Dabbagh gave, is that when we want to prevent suicide at the national level, we really need to look at what is being done as well within the overall mental health strategy of that country. And so when we talk about the national strategies for the prevention of suicide, we need to understand that it will have to happen on several levels. We need to make sure that at a basic level, we also have things like laws and policies regulating guns, for example, which is the most basic method in which, or the most common method in which individuals end their lives. We need to look at how suicide is being portrayed in the media at the national level. We need to introduce mental health and alcohol policies. We need to work mostly on early detection and treatment of individuals with mental health illnesses. We need to make sure that our primary healthcare centers are ready to see these kinds of patients. We need to make sure that we have psychiatrists, enough mental health professionals in the country to be able to see these patients. So really availability of mental health professionals as well as primary healthcare personnel. And these, as you can see, happen at different levels. Some of them at the national level, some of them at the individual level. In Lebanon, actually, we're working at different levels. And the National Mental Health Strategy, which was launched a few years ago, actually. We also have a very young National Mental Health Program, which was launched only in 2014. But some of its main objectives are working on the different levels of this pyramid. So we are working very much on training mental health, integrating mental health in primary healthcare centers. We have been working on introducing mental health and alcohol policies. And at the really top of this pyramid are things like the introduction of the suicide helpline. And this is where Embrace's role came in addition to the role of the ministry in Lebanon. If we want to talk about effectiveness of helplines at the national level, we know that this will continue to remain difficult. So an introduction of a helpline into a country will not drastically reduce the rates of suicide at the national level, because we know that suicide is really a complicated thing that we need to have ecological designs that are really looking at what was the level of suicide in that country before and after, or in specific areas. And because it's really very difficult to isolate suicide from the multifactorial things that are happening at the national level, in addition to conflicts in the country, the political situation, economic situation, mental health prevalence. So when we talk about helplines, we are really interested more in some of the proximal outcomes of helplines. And studies from around the world have shown us that actually individuals who contact helplines do benefit a great deal. Okay, so when people contact helplines, by the end of the helpline, almost 73.5% of those people, and some studies had taken the contact with the helpline, helped them take the decision not to end their life. 68% reached a contract not to attempt suicide by the end of the call. 58%, for example, developed a plan of action with the operator to address the concerns for which they called for. Safety contracts were made. Callers were less confused and more decided by the end of the call on how to solve a specific crisis they were in. And they felt more resourceful, less hopeless at the end of the call. So these are some of the main and major outcomes that we really want from a helpline that can go a long way in terms of prevention of suicide. So back to just seeing the situation of things in the Arab world. This is a map of Europe and some countries in Europe, so I'm having difficulty with this. And you can see that some of the yellow dots here represent countries that actually have a suicide prevention helpline, which is most of Europe. Whereas when we look at the Arab world, we do not see a single helpline, except for the one that's recently established in Lebanon. We have some countries that have reportedly some helplines, but none of them are specific to suicide. So I'll take you through our experience in starting the first suicide hotline. So this work is based on research and needs assessment that's been going on since 2014, when we looked for the first time actually at the rates of suicide in Lebanon. And we found that on average, every 2.5 days, a person would die from suicide in Lebanon. We're a population of 4 million with recently an increase of around 2 million refugees after the Syrian crisis. So these numbers that you're seeing right here are underreported numbers, and we know for sure that it's a much higher rate than that. In 2011, in 2014 actually, there was an increase of by 30% of the suicide rates in the country. So an increase from 2011 to 2014, it was a 30% increase in those rates. They have stabilized a little bit over the last 2 years. So back in 2017, we also had an average of 143 deaths by suicide. We anticipate this number to be double or triple because, again, because of some of the common cultural difficulties that we have related to suicide being a taboo. We know that many deaths go unreported as suicides and are reported as merely accidents, other types of accidents. So when we got these numbers, we also did a cross-sectional research design, a national representative study, looking at what are the attitudes and knowledge of the Lebanese towards mental health in general and seeking treatment. And what we found was actually the fear of social stigma was one of the most common barriers to seeking professional help. And from some of the qualitative data we found is that individuals do report that if they sought mental health care in Lebanon, people would call them crazy. We're not like Western cultures. It's not acceptable here to see a psychiatrist. The society would consider it shameful. I would be afraid of losing my job. And this data really reinforced the idea that we need some kind of intervention that will serve as a bridge for individuals who are still very ashamed of going into that psychiatrist or psychologist clinic and they ask about back doors to go in so that other people won't see them. So we really thought that an emotional support and suicide prevention helpline would be an anonymous alternative to that and would probably help maybe in bridging the gap and encouraging individuals who call the LifeLine to eventually seek professional care. So we started back in 2014 with a community advocacy initiative, which is an Into the Dawn walk. It's a walk to support families and communities who have lost someone to suicide. I believe this is one of the very rare interventions that we have in our Arab world. It's an idea that we have taken from the West, actually, where they have these kind of out of the darkness walks in memory of individuals lost to suicide. So we started this back in 2014 with a lot of anxiety and how many people are going to come, and we actually did it at 5 a.m. in the morning. And if you're familiar with the Lebanese culture, we are a little bit known to be party people, so we stay up all night and people sleep during the day on weekends, and it usually happens every year in occasion of the International Suicide Prevention Day in September, on September 10th. So it's been falling on a weekend for the past few years, so it's more difficult to get people to walk at that time. But we actually had 150 people there, which was a big surprise. And then each year, more and more people are waking up. And in 2017, and also this last September, we're reaching around 300 people waking up at 5 a.m. to support people who are going through suicidal thoughts and people who have lost people to suicide. So slowly, what we've been doing is really building up a conversation around suicide in the country so that it's something that's more acceptable. People are hearing more about it. Now people actually know that we have a rate of, on average, one person every 2.5 days. In 2016, we consulted with an international expert, Dr. Brian Bishara from Canada. He's helped in developing helplines all over the world. So he came in for a foundation workshop where we started looking at what would be the mission, objectives, structure of this helpline. How would we go about doing it? And we started engaging with local and international stakeholders. The Embrace Lifeline is currently a member of Defenders Worldwide, which is a national regional network of almost 32 countries which have helplines all over the world. And we also worked very closely with the Lebanese Ministry of Public Health, which actually became a partner of ours more recently, specifically in relation to the helpline. And the helpline is now within the strategy, the national strategy of mental health in Lebanon. We made use also of this partnership with the ministry in order to begin to identify what are the resources in the country country in terms of mental health services, what are the primary healthcare centers that are working on providing these mental health services, and actually just mapping all of the resources available in the country so that when we receive calls to our helpline, we are able to refer out actually as well. We made and are continuing to work very closely with the internal security forces, with our civil defense, and with our Red Cross. And this year we will be training all three parties actually on how to intervene in suicidal cases. In 2017, so almost similar to this time last year, we launched a campaign at the national level that was called Talking Saves Lives. In Arabic, it was الحكي بيطول العمر, so it's the idea of, actually it's similar to, you can see, to EKG waves. So the more we talk, it's like a beating heart, and we encouraged, so it was a platform actually for, it was a microsite, a website where people would go in and record messages of support in general to anyone who might be suffering from a mental health problem, from suicidal thoughts. And they would actually, if they would like to, they would put down their name next to it. So you can see some of these messages in Arabic. And these messages were posted on billboards all over the country. So people were seeing messages of support by strangers, just encouraging them to talk about it, that there's someone there to listen. So we started with this campaign back in 2017 before we even launched the Helpline. What we were doing at the same time, we also launched a website specifically to describe what we do at the Helpline. It's a resource for anyone who knows someone or is going through suicidal thoughts on what to do or how to intervene with that person. And this is a brief timeline of how things went about starting from 2014. We did several trainings over a period of several months to begin to recruit operators. When we first posted an announcement about would you like to volunteer to be an operator on a suicide hotline, we got 10 participants. Today, I'll get to where we are today, but this is where we started back in 2014 of February. In May, we did our second training. We launched officially our NGO status back in June of last year. We continued to do the dawn walks, the campaign over here in 2017, and we did an official partnership with the Ministry of Health a few months ago. And in June of this month, so the hotline has been operational since February actually, but the official announcement of it, so we were working in a pilot phase, and we officially announced in June of 2017. So, what is this helpline that I'm talking about? We called it the Embrace LifeLine. Its mission is to actually, it's a specialized telephone service that provides services such as suicide risk assessment, how to collaboratively intervene in a suicidal crisis, how to develop a caller's hope, how to intervene in a life-threatening situation, and also the main objective as well is to provide referrals to community resources and treatment programs for anyone who might be suffering. The objectives are, as I mentioned, focused on proximal outcomes, which is to reduce the caller's crisis or the emotional distress that the caller is calling with, to reduce the current suicidal crisis, and to enhance ongoing help by providing referrals to formal mental health care. It's located in Beirut. Currently we have 55 helpline operators, a helpline supervisor and a center manager. It's equipped with state-of-the-art technology to receive calls, to conference people in, to receive several calls at the same time. And our operators undergo an extensive 40-hour training in skills such as active listening, how to conduct an informal suicide risk assessment, how to develop a caller's hope, to collaboratively problem solve on issues maybe the caller is calling for, and management of immediate risk. We currently operate from 12 noon till 2 a.m., but are working very hard on securing a 24/7 service very soon. We have 2 operators per shift, and more recently with some increase in the number of calls, we are going to probably have to move to 3 operators per shift because we are getting ongoing calls at the same time. Our operators have access to the supervisor at all times of the day and night in case they are facing a difficult call. The supervisor is a senior mental health professional, and they of course undergo continuing education, workshops, trainings, and even specialized trainings more recently to work with specific vulnerable populations that call the Helpline, including domestic workers, including individuals from the LGBT community, and we're working also towards elderly, because that's a population that also seems to be calling the Helpline more frequently. For shortage of time, I will not go through the practice model, but it's basically focused on developing or establishing a relationship with the caller, conducting a detailed suicide risk assessment, developing the caller's hope, problem solving, figuring out some action plan, and then referring the caller to any kind of services they need. We worked very hard for almost a year on developing our data capturing system, so we have a software that actually enters all of this data, the demographics of the caller. I'm going to present some of them, the type of call. The suicide risk assessment is based on the Columbia Suicide Severity